darling, what have I done to you?
It's all right, Jeannie. It's all over now. Get him out of there, will you?
Oh.
With a blink and a nod, a dazzling genie in a barely there harem costume popped out of a mysterious bottle and landed on national TV.
They had bought a show about a bachelor who was living with a beautiful half-naked girl who kept saying, "What can I do for you, Master?"
I must have gone further into orbit than I thought.
In the coming hour, we'll take a magic carpet ride back to the 60s with Barbara Eden as our guide.
I don't think anyone thought it would live as long as it's lived. This is a phenomenon, I think.
The phenomenon served up classic comedy.
What on earth do you think you're doing?
With plenty of drama behind the scenes.
I can't read, I'm not that talented. What am I doing there?
Jeannie's favorite astronaut was often overbearing.
He actually jumped on the table in the middle of an NBC meeting.
And sometimes out of control.
Larry Hagman was drinking champagne like it was cherry Kool-Aid.
The show's creator ruled with an iron grip.
He had this strange office which was soundproofed. And I remember going in there and I thought, this is kind of weird.
While Jeannie kept a secret that threatened to put the cork back in the bottle.
She said, "I have to see you." And I said, "Fine, I'll be at the office in the morning." She said, "No, I have to see you now."
I Dream of Jeannie ran for 5 years on NBC, never winning an Emmy, never topping the ratings. But, like Jeannie, casting a spell on its audience.
I'll be darned if I can figure out why it lasts.
And yet, the curious appeal of the series makes it a timeless television classic. This is the story of I Dream of Jeannie, the true Hollywood story.
Oh, but Master, they have your picture on.
Now!
Yes, Master.
Her life's ambition was to be a star.
Never recovered from the public scandal.
The year is 1965. A NASA flight crash lands on a desert island in the South Pacific. Astronaut Tony Nelson survives the ordeal, only to stumble across a mysterious bottle. Curious, the intrepid explorer opens the strange-looking artifact. There's a cloud of smoke, and poof. What materializes is a curvaceous blonde beauty dressed as a harem dancer. She talks, too. And quickly conjures up a helicopter to save the day. Thus began one of TV's most charming sitcoms.
I will teach thee, Master.
And if the premise sounds a little wacky, it was. But television back then was populated by a lot of strange characters. Steve Cox is the author of Dreaming of Jeannie.
The 60s introduced a lot of what some people have called the ostrich years. There was Gilligan's Island, there were Munsters.
And Martians, and witches, and talking horses. So, why not a genie? That's precisely what writer and producer Sidney Sheldon thought in 1964, when he was approached by executives at Screen Gem Studios to develop a new TV series. Sheldon's inspiration came from The Brass Bottle, a film that starred burly Burl Ives.
There were movies about genies, but it was always some giant man coming out of a bottle saying, "What can I do for you?" And I thought it would be fun to write about a beautiful, nubile young lady who said, "What can I do for you, Master?"
I Dream of Jeannie began to take shape, and 46-year-old Sidney Sheldon was excited to spin another good yarn. Sheldon, a native of Chicago, had traveled to New York City in 1935 to pursue a career as a composer. When that plan went bust, the young adventurer migrated to Hollywood.
And I heard about readers, people who synopsize stories for busy producers. So I synopsized a copy of Mice and Men, the wonderful Steinbeck book, sent it to the studios, and within 2 days, I had a job at Universal.
Sheldon was quickly promoted to screenwriter. A decade later, in 1947, he won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. The movie was The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer. Over the next 15 years, Sheldon worked on a dozen feature films. Then, in 1963, the writer-producer was offered a chance to ply his trade on the small screen.
I got a call from my agent, and he told me that they had a show called The Patty Duke Show, and they had a time slot on the network.
The Patty Duke Show launched that fall on ABC and quickly became a hit. But it was another Screen Gem show, Bewitched, that executives hoped to leverage. The series starring Elizabeth Montgomery was the highest-rated sitcom during the 1963-64 season. Enter Sidney Sheldon and I Dream of Jeannie. Sheldon wrote the pilot script in the summer of 1964. The casting net then went out to snare the sultry Jeannie. Ironically, a young actress who appeared in The Brass Bottle was a contender, but Barbara Eden was not Sheldon's first choice for the part.
They were testing every Mediterranean type in the world for the role. And I just never thought of it for me. And they were always these leggy brunettes, you know, very Miss Israel, Miss Italy, Miss Greece. And then one day, my agent sent me the script.
Mary Sheldon is a writer and the daughter of Sidney Sheldon.
I think her agent suggested that Papa meet her. And for one thing, she was blonde, and this was such a play against type because Jeannies were naturally assumed to be from the Middle East.
His first words were, "Well, I understand you're my Jeannie."
Coming up, the man who would be Major Nelson.
He was able to be light and comedic, and he could make a fool of himself.
And later,
Now, Larry would drink champagne in the morning sometimes. He would drink in the afternoon.
in 1964, producer Sidney Sheldon dreamed of a Jeannie who was young, beautiful, and sexy. Sheldon's vision was brought to life in the form of actress Barbara Eden.
She's fish out of water. She's from another time. So that's what made the comedy there.
Barbara Eden was born Barbara Jean Huffman in Tucson, Arizona. The family moved to San Francisco when Barbara was a toddler. And by the age of 7, the self-conscious little girl made her first stage appearance.
I was a very shy child. I preferred reading to going out and playing with other children. And so Mommy enrolled me in this class. I remember the first thing we did was walk out to Sweet Little Alice Blue Gown. You know, all these little girls walked out to that, and then we each had like 2 lines of a poem to recite.
Barbara found her calling, or so she thought. By the age of 18, the aspiring singer enrolled in the prestigious San Francisco Conservatory of Music. But Alice Huffman gently pushed her daughter in another direction.
Her words were, Barbara, every note sounds beautiful, and it's right on. But you don't mean a word you're singing, you know, and I think you should study acting.
Barbara changed her major, studied hard, and then headed for Hollywood. Within a year, the 20-year-old actress was spotted by a producer from 20th Century Fox while performing at a theater class. The perky blonde was offered a contract, on one condition.
Huffman sounded like a doctor. Now, of course, no one cares. I said, well, you can change my last name, but don't change my first one because I won't answer.
There was no rhyme or reason for the choice. The producer simply liked the name Eden. In 1957, Barbara Eden made her film debut in The Wayward Girl. The next year, Barbara met actor Michael Ansara on a blind date arranged by the studio as a publicity stunt. 36-year-old Ansara was the popular star of the TV series Broken Arrow. In a 1972 interview, Ansara talked about their first date.
And I said, oh, I have a lot of girls. I don't want to.
He didn't like me.
I thought she was snooty. We were supposed to go to this party at a certain time with the photographers and everything. And I took her to dinner before, and I got to know her, and I thought, well, gee, there's a lot here.
On January 17, 1958, Michael Ansara and Barbara Eden married. Over the next 3 years, Barbara made guest appearances on TV and landed parts in more than a dozen movies. Then, in 1964, Barbara won the role that defined her career. A spirited Jeannie named Jeannie. who was born in 64 BC and banished to life in a bottle after refusing to marry a powerful dude named the Blue Djinn, later played by Michael Ansara. When Jeannie is finally rescued from her life in exile nearly 2,000 years later, the man of the hour is a rather befuddled space traveler named Tony.
NASA and their race to the moon was on every front page during the 1960s. Every time they made a move, it hit the news. And I think I Dream of Jeannie capitalized upon that.
A bunch of actors were tested for the role of astronaut Tony Nelson, including rugged Robert Conrad. But the part eventually went to 33-year-old Larry Hagman.
He was able to be light and comedic, and he could make a fool of himself. And that was very important in this particular part.
Larry Martin Hagman was born September 21, 1931, in Weatherford, Texas. Larry's father, Ben Hagman, was an attorney. His mother, 17-year-old Mary Martin, was a dancer with aspirations of becoming a Broadway star. When Larry was just 5, his parents divorced. Mary Martin moved to Manhattan to study acting. Between 1940 and 1949, Larry bounced between New York and Texas, with stints at 16 different private schools. Hagman earned the reputation of a hellraiser. So, his dad put him to work on a Texas ranch. Hagman graduated from high school in 1949 at age 17. He then followed his mother into acting. By that time, Mary Martin was a bona fide Broadway star who later gained international acclaim for her long-running role as Peter Pan. Over a period of 9 years in Manhattan, Hagman earned his acting stripes. He appeared in more than 50 plays and musicals. Meanwhile, during a European junket in 1954, Hagman met and married Swedish dress designer Maj Axelsson. Back home, Hagman landed a role on the daytime soap The Edge of Night. But by 1964, the 33-year-old actor was out of work and down to his last $30. The call from Sidney Sheldon to audition for I Dream of Jeannie came none too soon.
It needed someone like Larry to play off Barbara. And he was so brilliant.
Hagman had the right stuff to play Tony Nelson. But the astronaut needed a sidekick.
Bill Daly had done almost nothing in the entertainment business other than live performances, improv comedy, and of course he was a musician and had toured and traveled.
When they did the pilot, I was like man in uniform. I had one line in the background in the corner. And they did the pilot. They changed the whole thing around. You're going to be the second banana.
To round out the cast, Sidney Sheldon chose 53-year-old Hayden Rourke as NASA psychiatrist Alfred Bellows. The role of the good doctor's wife Amanda went to 34-year-old Emmeline Henry. With the actors on board, all systems were go to shoot the pilot for I Dream of Jeannie. Coming up, a case of the network jitters.
And they panicked. They were afraid they'd never get that show on the air.
In November 1964, cast and crew assembled on the lot of Columbia Pictures to begin filming the pilot for I Dream of Jeannie. The premise was over the top, and so was the costume worn by the lovely leading lady, at least by 1960 standards.
There was only one reason for that, and that was to show off Barbara Eden's beautiful body.
The shoot was barely underway when executives at NBC got wind of Jeannie's provocative look.
They had bought a show about a bachelor who was living with a beautiful half-naked girl who kept saying, "What can I do for you, Master?" And they panicked. They were afraid they'd never get that show on the air. I got a 30-page memo.
Sheldon made adjustments to the script, and the pilot was completed in January 1965. NBC executives liked what they saw and ordered up a full season of episodes. But before production resumed, Barbara Eden nearly killed the entire project.
She said, "I have to see you." And I said, "Fine, I'll be at the office in the morning." She said, "No, I have to see you now." And that shook me up a little.
So I went, Tim and I, he was at dinner at someone's house. And I sat down and jokingly, he looked at me and said, "You're pregnant." And I said, yes, and I can't do your show. I had tried for so long to have a baby that I didn't care about the show.
And I said, no, I'm not going to replace you. We're going to just shoot faster.
Sheldon convinced NBC that they could shoot the first season with a pregnant Barbara Eden. The plan was to condense the shooting schedule and get all of the first season's episodes in the can before the pilot premiered. By April 1965, Barbara was 5 months along and showing. Director Hal Cooper was forced to be very creative in approaching each scene.
We just shot her close, that's all, and behind chairs.
I looked like a walking tent. I had so many veils in front.
But disguising a Jeannie with child wasn't the only drama on the set during season 1.
Bill Daley had a problem at the beginning with memorizing lines, and Sidney Sheldon said that right from the beginning, he couldn't memorize his lines, and he would start improvising on the script, and they went to him and said, look, you can't improvise, this is television.
I didn't know what I was doing. I'm dyslexic, I can't read, I'm not that talented. What am I doing there?
Daley managed to muddle through, while Larry Hagman second-guessed his decision to join the show.
The problem, I think, is that he felt that he was the star of the show, being I Dream of Jeannie, that it would be about Tony Nelson. But in actuality, it was really a show about Jeannie and how she dreamed of Tony Nelson.
Hagman was often moody and sometimes downright obnoxious. Former Screen Gems publicist Bob Palmer.
Larry was always sort of testy. Sometimes he used humor, and sometimes things would come out of his mouth that were pretty outrageous. But that was his way of venting some frustration, because he felt a lot of it.
In an April 14, 1980 People magazine article, Hagman spoke about his compulsive need to poke and prod at every aspect of the show, including the writing.
Larry Hagman was dissatisfied with the scripts, and I think that he really fought for the good of the show.
Daley and Barbara Eden sided with Hagman, but neither actor wanted to confront Sidney Sheldon, so Hagman would go it alone.
I should have been there because I agreed with him, everything he said. So did Barbara, she let him go. He was the heavy.
Hagman, of course, didn't always get his way, which made him furious.
Gene Nelson, the director, told me that at one point, when he was very aggravated at people on the set and with the top brass from Screen Gems, and he wasn't happy with the way things were going, he waited until everybody left the set one day and urinated on the set.
Sidney Sheldon was not a man to be pushed around. 47-year-old Sheldon worked alone writing virtually every script for I Dream of Jeannie.
He had this strange office which was soundproofed, and he had double doors. I remember going in there and I thought, this is kind of weird.
Down the hall from Sheldon, director William Asher worked on another Screen Gems production, Bewitched, which starred Asher's wife, Elizabeth Montgomery. After only one season, Bewitched was a mainstay on ABC and the envy of executives at rival networks. Sheldon and Asher remained friendly. Elizabeth Montgomery, however, had her nose out of joint. TV's favorite witch considered I Dream of Jeannie to be nothing more than a blatant ripoff.
We didn't even think that anybody would copy it. And when Sidney did that, she resented it terribly. Take storylines and do them. She really was upset.
As far as parallels between the two shows were concerned, they were both fantasies, but I never read any of their scripts. And to my knowledge, they never read any of my scripts. So there was no way that their show could be a ripoff of mine or my show could be a ripoff of theirs.
Meanwhile, Barbara Eden had her baby, a boy, Matthew and Sarah, on August 29, 1965. I Dream of Jeannie premiered 3 weeks later at 8 p.m. on Saturday, September 18, 1965. The reviews were harsh. A critic with Variety wrote, "The star of this blithering comedy is Barbara Eden's cleavage." Coming up.
Larry Hagman was drinking champagne like it was cherry Kool-Aid.
Season 1 was no magic carpet ride for I Dream of Jeannie. Critics blasted the show. Ratings were lukewarm. And co-star Larry Hagman was often miserable, and made nearly everyone else on the set miserable too.
Where Larry ran into difficulties was that he was a man of great integrity and not much compromise.
Executives with NBC were less than thrilled with the lackluster performance of I Dream of Jeannie. Still, in the summer of 1966, the series was renewed for another year, this time in color.
You called my name.
You bet your sweet life.
On September 12, 1966, Episode 1 of Season 2 introduced Barbara Eden's husband, Michael Ansara, as the Blue Djinn, the menacing rogue from Jeannie's distant past. Meanwhile, 35-year-old Larry Hagman was as unpredictable as ever. Angry one minute, silly the next. Costume designer Joey Hutchinson.
One of the other things that Larry used to do is come on the set in a monk's robe.
Writer and story consultant Jim Henderson.
I remember he had a penny whistle, you know, those Irish whistles, and he just got perverse. And we'd be ready for a shot in which he was in his trailer, and you hear...
In fact, the set was usually in a state of chaos, especially when the script called for Larry Hagman to share screen time with a gassy pachyderm.
One time we were in our bedroom and she was going to blink an elephant in, and she blinked the elephant. Well, to do that, what you do is they say freeze, and you go, gee, and you freeze like this, and so
You can't move.
You can't move. So there wasn't a lot of room to get the elephant in, so they had to lead it in, but it wasn't enough room to turn it around. And just as they said 1, 2, 3 action, where I could start moving again, they went 1, 2, 3, and it broke wind. I mean, right here.
Hagman's misadventures on the set only masked what went on behind closed doors, where the 35-year-old actor waged an ongoing battle with the bottle.
Larry Hagman was drinking champagne like it was cherry Kool-Aid.
Now, Larry, when we did the show, would drink champagne in the morning sometimes. He would drink in the afternoon. I have never seen Larry ever tipsy, slur his words.
I knew that Larry had a drinking problem for a while, but it never interfered. It never got in the way of work.
The final episode of Season 2 aired in April 1967. I Dream of Jeannie finished the year at number 26 in the ratings, good enough to be renewed by the brass at NBC. The third season of the series began in September 1967, a period of growing unrest at home and abroad. Nearly 500,000 American troops were fighting in Vietnam.
Much of the United States did not agree with our participation in that war, and one of the people that was very outspoken about that was Larry Hagman.
There was a dichotomy for Larry because, yes, on one hand, he was this very clean-cut astronaut, very pro-government on the show, and in real life, his politics were very radical.
The people at Columbia Pictures really were bothered by how outspoken he was.
Protesting against the war in Southeast Asia was only part of the changing social landscape of America in the late 60s. The seeds of feminism were also planted during this period. Susan Douglas is a professor of media studies at the University of Michigan.
Captain Nelson kept putting off her advances and tried to be very proper, and so Jeannie is the one coming on to him, and he's often backing off, which makes this a different kind of chemistry than you saw in most sitcoms in the 1960s.
In fact, Jeannie was a study in contrasts. She pursued Tony Nelson with a sort of reckless abandon. Yet, she obediently called him Master.
Good morning, Master. Oh, I have a surprise for you.
In Susan Douglas's book, Where the Girls Are, Growing Up Female with the Mass Media, she wrote that I Dream of Jeannie acknowledged the impending release of female sexuality, but also showed women with too much power can be dangerous.
She was blonde and beautiful and slim and totally devoted to the man in her life. And on the other hand, she was a man's worst nightmare because she had power over him that he could never have over her. And she could completely disrupt his life in all kinds of crazy ways that he could never explain.
But crazy didn't begin to describe what was in store for Larry Hagman and his scantily clad co-star. Coming up.
NBC went, she's got a belly button. Oh my God, cover it up, you know.
In the spring of 1968, I Dream of Jeannie completed its third season on NBC. The show conjured up just enough ratings to stay on the air. The big question was, for how long?
You mind telling me what you're doing? Ice?
The premises were flat and bland, and people had seen them before, whether they realized it or not.
By December 1968, I Dream of Jeannie closed in on episode 100, while 37-year-old Larry Hagman was up to his old tricks, drinking and disrupting the set. Early in January 1969, Hagman was overcome by dust while shooting a scene for Jeannie set at a bucking bronco contest on location at a rodeo. Hagman's doctor suggested he stop talking for a couple of days. Hagman did as the doctor ordered and enjoyed the quiet time so much. To this day, he doesn't talk on Sundays. Back in the boardroom of the Peacock Network, executives searched for a gimmick to pump up the numbers on I Dream of Jeannie. They found the magic potion right under their noses, in the form of George Schlatter, the producer of TV's most irreverent series.
At that point, Laugh-In was the hottest show on the air. So Jeannie was on the same night. So they said, wouldn't it be great to have the cast of Laugh-In go on Jeannie and then Jeannie come on Laugh-In?
The preposterous Jeannie episode was originally called Sock It To Me Jeannie, a title network watchdogs quickly nixed as too suggestive. But there was more, or actually less.
George Schlatter showed me the script they had prepared for our people in their show. And it opened with Barbara coming down a long staircase with a spotlight on her belly button.
Then NBC went, she's got a belly button. Oh my God, cover it up, you know.
Everybody said we could not see Jeannie's navel. NBC said they couldn't. Sidney Sheldon said they couldn't. Everybody got dug in and said, we refuse to allow this woman to show her navel.
Jeannie never did show her belly button, but NBC's gimmick didn't pay off, and season 4 ended with mediocre ratings. 3 months later, on July 20th, 1969, the world looked on as astronaut Neil Armstrong made history, the first man to set foot on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The space program was in the headlines again, and NBC execs were anxious to piggyback on the publicity with yet another Jeannie gimmick. A plan quickly took shape that promised a surefire boost in ratings. A wedding between the astronaut and the Jeannie.
I think that the notion of getting Tony and Jeannie married was one of the more benighted ideas that a network ever had.
On October 7th, 1969, episode 4 of season 5 featured Tony proposing to Jeannie. However, there was little celebration among members of the cast and crew.
He said, don't you guys understand what makes this show tick? What makes this show tick is the radical notion that these people make the beast with two backs after the show fades out. If you marry them, you've got bewitched.
Rumor has it that when Larry Hagman heard of it, he actually jumped on the table in the middle of an NBC meeting.
I got to tell you, I think it made Larry crazy. I think that the problems that we had on the set the last year were directly traceable to the fact that Larry knew that if this happened, the show was doomed.
There was more shouting behind closed doors, to no avail. Following an 8-week build-up, the episode simply called The Wedding aired on December 2nd, 1969.
The wedding to me was the coup de grace, although it didn't have to be, I guess. But I felt that it was, because the whole funny thing of this is that she's not human, but she thought she was, you see.
NBC's idea did bring Jeannie's ratings up temporarily. The wedding episode finished the week in the top 20. Meanwhile, halfway through season 5, 52-year-old Sidney Sheldon took a much-needed break from the grind of churning out TV scripts. Instead, the prolific writer began work on his first novel, The Naked Face. Without Sheldon's full attention, the writing suffered.
Those shows were not really funny anymore.
Jeannie limped through another 15 episodes with little fanfare. The season 5 finale was scheduled to air the week of April 11th, 1970, when news of the space program gripped the world once again.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. Houston, we've had a problem.
This horror was taking place, and the network, of course, cut programming to watch the progress of NASA rescuing these astronauts in space. And it was a very tense time for America.
200,000 miles above Earth, Apollo 13 astronauts James Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes raced against time to repair a crippled command module. On April 17, 1970, Americans watched as 3 heroes broke through the clouds and landed safely in the Pacific Ocean. 5 weeks later, on May 26, 1970, the 139th episode of I Dream of Jeannie aired.
Sir, if you would just give me a chance to explain, I'm sure I can clear this all up. What is that?
It turned out to be the final show. That summer, NBC put the cork back in the bottle, with Jeannie inside.
I remember being very sad, very, very sad. This is your family, and this is also something that you're used to doing week after week after week after week.
Coming up.
I went home and had a bunch of tests and discovered that, yes, the baby was gone.
In the spring of 1970, I Dream of Jeannie vanished from NBC after a 5-year run. But the magic didn't end for the stars of the light-hearted series.
I like to think that Jeannie was one facet of me. I'm doing a show right now that's another facet.
Barbara Eden was happy to have a break, to spend time at home with her husband Michael and Sarah, and their son Matthew, who was now 7 years old. But Eden wasn't ready to retire yet. Barbara soon won starring roles in a string of highly rated TV movies. In 1972, Barbara's personal life hit a high note. Eden was thrilled to learn that she was expecting her second child. But the determined actress continued to work. During her 7th month of pregnancy, she was in St. Louis for a location shoot. Following a long day on the set, Barbara underwent a routine physical exam that turned out to be anything but routine.
The doctor there said, when you get home, go to your doctor right away. And I said, why? Is something wrong? He says, no. He says, nothing's wrong. He said, I can't find the heart. He said, I thought I did, and I can't. Heartbeat, but sometimes at this stage, it was 7 months. The baby turns over, you can't find it.
Barbara was alarmed, but not panicked. After all, there seemed to be a logical explanation. Nevertheless, Eden immediately returned to Los Angeles, and the news she dreaded.
I went home and had a bunch of tests and discovered that, yes, the baby was gone.
Adding to the heartache, Barbara was told that she might not survive induced labor, leaving doctors with only one option.
They make you carry the baby until the 9th month, and that really screwed me up. That was not a good time.
The deep anguish that followed the miscarriage drove a wedge in Barbara's relationship with Michael and Sarah. In 1973, they ended their 15-year marriage. Over the next 3 years, Barbara slowly regained her emotional balance and returned to work. In 1976, Eden met 45-year-old Chicago newspaper executive Charles Fagert. Fagert eventually proposed, and on September 11, 1977, the couple wed. 1 year later, Barbara landed the role of feisty Stella Johnson in the film Harper Valley PTA.
She was a free spirit. She was very open, honest, had the courage of her convictions.
In 1981, Barbara took the role of Stella to the small screen. During this time, her marriage to Charles Fagert was coming to an end. The couple divorced in 1982. Larry Hagman's post-Jeannie days mirrored his life during the series. Hagman drank to excess, but managed to pull himself together for some forgettable film projects, including Son of Blob in 1972. But 6 years later, the 46-year-old actor struck gold. Or more accurately, oil. Hagman landed the juicy part of dastardly villain J.R. Ewing on Dallas.
I get all the girls and all the money, and have the most fun.
Hagman's sidekick on Jeannie, Bill Daly, went on to play the bumbling next-door neighbor on The Bob Newhart Show, while Hayden Rourke took down his fictional psychiatrist shingle to live a quiet life in Studio City, California. Rourke's TV wife, Emmeline Henry, continued in show business, but in the late 70s, the engaging actress was diagnosed with brain cancer.
And she had a terrific resume of work in television, and she was also a singer. She had a terrific career.
On October 8, 1979, Emmeline Henry passed away. She was only 49.
She died suddenly, and it was such a quiet thing. It really didn't hit the news.
Emmeline's death saddened everyone associated with I Dream of Jeannie, including the creator of the series, Sidney Sheldon. But Sheldon also had much to celebrate. The 62-year-old writer was well on his way to becoming one of the best-selling authors of all time.
He sees no boundaries. He could do anything. He believes he can do anything, and he can.
But Sidney Sheldon was caught a bit off guard when Jeannie's bottle was uncorked again in 1985. Network executives gave the green light for a 2-hour reunion show. Sheldon was named executive producer. His old friend William Asher was approached to direct. By that time, Asher was divorced from Elizabeth Montgomery, who still bristled over Jeannie, a show that she considered to be a weak imitation of her star vehicle, Bewitched.
The studio called me and asked if I would do it, and I thought it would be fun. I was not married to Elizabeth at that time, or I would not have done it. She'd have killed me.
Barbara Eden enthusiastically signed on for I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later. So did the other members of the original cast, except one. Larry Hagman wouldn't even look at the project. He was having too much fun as Dallas oil baron J.R. Ewing.
I called him, wanted to talk to him about his feelings on the script, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I'm talking about Jeannie. What do you think I'm talking about?" And he said, "I'm not going to do that." I said, "The studio told me you were going to do that. That's why I called you." And he said, "Forget it."
Coming up.
I got a tear in my eye. Oh.
Brooke. Burke. Wild On. Weeknights at midnight.
In 1985, the 2-hour TV movie I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later went into production without Larry Hagman, who was riding tall on a Texas ranch as J.R. Ewing.
I thought Larry was going to be there. I'm getting dressed and I'm ready to go. Boy, I can't get to work with Larry. And I see Wayne Rogers. And I, "What are you doing here?" So I'm playing Larry's part. Wow, man, that was a shock.
In addition to a new face wearing a familiar uniform, there was one other notable change in scenery.
It doesn't have anything to do with her navel. The fact that they showed her navel 15 years later has to do with what has occurred in television.
Yes, Barbara Eden was finally allowed to reveal what was there all along.
She looks fantastic, and she is one well-preserved Jeannie.
Eden did indeed knock 'em dead. I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later lacked the frenetic pace of the original series, but viewers didn't seem to care. The reunion show was among the highest-rated TV movies of the year.
There's something in nostalgia, pure, unadulterated nostalgia, that makes viewers watch reunion movies.
Sadly, just 1 year after Jeannie's successful comeback, Hayden Rourke, who played psychiatrist Alfred Bellows, was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Rourke died at his home on August 19, 1987, at age 76. Barbara Eden, meanwhile, was immortalized on Hollywood Boulevard. Soon after, love played a starring role for Barbara Eden, and on January 5, 1991, she said, "I do" for a third time. Ironically, real estate developer John Eichholz had never seen an episode of I Dream of Jeannie. But all that changed in October 1991, when I Still Dream of Jeannie aired. Once again, Larry Hagman was a no-show, and once again, NBC executives wished for big ratings. But when the smoke cleared, the numbers were disappointing. While Jeannie said master for the last time, 60-year-old Hagman was coming off a delightfully diabolical 13-year run as J.R. Ewing on Dallas. True to form, the final episode was a cliffhanger. J.R. put a pistol to his head, and a shot rang out. Did America's most lovable scoundrel kill himself? Millions of die-hard fans were left to ponder that question. Ironically, in real life, Hagman was also on the road to self-destruction. But his weapon was not a gun, but a bottle. Hagman was dying from cirrhosis of the liver. He stopped drinking cold turkey, hoping his liver would regenerate. It didn't. By 1995, the prognosis was grim. Larry desperately needed a transplant. Then, on August 22, 1995, a donor was found. Hagman was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, where he underwent a difficult 16-hour operation. The procedure worked. With Mai, his wife of 41 years at his side, Larry Hagman had a new lease on life. In November 1999, 68-year-old Hagman agreed to be part of another Jeannie reunion, if only on a TV talk show.
I got a tear in my eye.
It's a nice feeling.
Isn't it? Yeah. I was thinking how much better I looked than they do.
But 2001 brought tragedy for Barbara Eden. On June 25th, her only child, 35-year-old bodybuilder Matthew Ansara, died of acute heroin intoxication. Ansara reportedly had a history of drug use. I Dream of Jeannie goes on. More than 35 years after the show began, its magic continues to charm viewers around the world in syndication.
There are some really wonderful moments in that program. But I'll be darned if I can figure out why it lasts. It has a very unique allure to it.
Maybe it was simply because the series made the folks at home feel good. And then there was this spunky blonde Jeannie who uncorked a few centuries worth of fantasies.
I wish you'd take my shirt off, Jeannie. No, I mean, I wish you'd put on your own clothes.
Barbara Eden was something to behold back then. She still is.
I don't think anyone thought it would live as long as it's lived. This is a phenomenon, I think.
I hear such great stories about you.
They're all true.
All true.
That looked an awful lot like the house where we shot I Dream of Jeannie. It is a house? It is a...